Community Podcast.
So, welcome to the Community Podcast. Today we have with us Coach Hoff. Now, I was told to call you Coach Hoff because it's easier than saying Hoff than your last name.
That is correct.
Can you go ahead and pronounce your last name before I move on?
Yep, Hofstetter.
Hofstetter.
So it looks harder than probably what it is.
All right, well, Coach Hofstetter is the men's head lacrosse coach at University of Mary Washington. How long have you been with Mary Washington?
This is going to be my second year, so I'm going to be entering my second year at UMW.
Okay. And I know I just welcome everyone to the Community Podcast, but I would like to welcome you to the community. You recently moved to Louisa County. Is that correct?
We did. Yep. We just moved up from Florida. We moved up this past year, and then we just moved to Bumpus down on Lake Anna. So excited to be here.
So when you saw Bumpus, because I grew up and still live in Bumpus, moving from Florida to Bumpus, was that kind of a from a name change? Was that a little rough?
My kids have a fun time trying to say Bumpus. But, the best part is the community, the area that we're in. Our kids love nature. They love being outside, and Bumpus really has all that kind of stuff. Not only just the lake, but hiking and just being outdoors is what I love. And it's a safe community, and we can let our kids kind of go outside and play and not have to worry about it. Awesome. And that was a big reason we wanted to move here.
That should make sense. I just met your family. You have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Nice to meet your wife and your three girls.
3 girls.
Yes. So I had 3 sons. So.
Yep. So we had to balance each other out there.
That's right. See? My sons are a lot older. They're out the house now. But moving to Louisa, what were you looking for when you decided to move? So did you visit other areas, and how did you ultimately decide, hey, this is the spot?
Sure. So I'm the head coach at Mary Washington up in Fredericksburg, and my wife ended up getting a job at the University of Virginia over in Charlottesville. So we kind of wanted to look at a place that was in between, that we both could commute to both those cities. And when we were looking, we knew we wanted a place where they had good schools for our kids. I think that was one of the most important things. 2, we wanted to be at a place that had lots of things to do, right? And I think Bumpus really checked all the boxes for that. I mean, Louisiana schools are great. I think the outdoorsiness of Lake Anna and the surrounding area, having the state park close by, and I think that really kind of hit the button. I think there was other places we could live, but it didn't offer as many of the things that we were looking for, which was important.
Gotcha. So before you were leading the NCAA college program, you were just a kid at one point playing multiple sports. Why was it important, or why do you think it's important that youth participate in multiple sports instead of, we see a lot of youth now who just want to play one sport,
sure,
and that's it?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's super important to play multiple sports for a couple of reasons. I think, nowadays a lot of kids get burned out when they're playing, the same sport consistently, right? There's not a lot of change. They're just, and by the time we see them, in high school and getting recruited in college, the love of that sport's not there anymore because they've been playing it consistently their whole lives, and they haven't really had a lot of change, right? The other thing I think that's important is that a lot of other sports correlate to different sports. So, when we talk to a lot of recruits, we see a lot of guys that play basketball, all right? We see a lot of guys that play football, and that helps develop them, physically, right? Whether it's from, the weight room or maybe their footwork, or maybe their agility, right? And so it's good that they're playing other sports, 1, they're not getting burned out, but 2, they're gaining strengths, through other sports, which they can correlate to lacrosse.
So growing up, did you participate in other sports? Or was
I did. So I grew up playing ice hockey, which gave me kind of the hand-eye coordination that you need for lacrosse. Right. And then I also grew up playing basketball. And so those two sports are very similar to lacrosse and really helped me kind of develop into the lacrosse athlete that I wanted to become.
So how did you get introduced to lacrosse?
Yeah, so I grew up playing ice hockey, never really knew what the sport of lacrosse was. Tried out for my middle school lacrosse or basketball program, ended up getting cut. And one of the teachers there was starting a lacrosse program at our school, and was like, "Hey, I know you didn't make the basketball team. Why don't you come out for lacrosse?" And back then, a lot of us played multiple sports. So it was like, sure, yeah, like in the summertime when like ice hockey wasn't happening, let's go play lacrosse. And I went out there, tried it, and it was super similar to ice hockey, except you get to hit with a stick. And so, I picked up a stick and been playing ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, Coach, you're the new head coach, Mary Wash. You're coming in. What's a foundational message you like to get across to your team day one?
Yeah, I think, a culture, right? I think culture is super important with teams. Playing lacrosse or playing any sport should be a brotherhood, right? And we got to have guys that, buy into that culture of, hey, this is a team sport. We're going to respect one another. And, we win and lose as a team, right? I think that's super important. The other thing I really stress is grades, right? Especially when it comes to lacrosse. We're not the NBA, we're not the NFL, we're not making millions of dollars playing this sport. So, grades are super important, right? Whether it's to get into the college you want, or, to make sure that you're graduating and getting a career after college. So those are the two things that we really stress.
That's awesome, because you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, because you guys recently were awarded with the USILA Academic Team Award.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit to the community about how a young athlete can balance their athletics as well as their academics?
Yeah, I think it's super important that, they take their academics seriously. And, for us, one thing that we do, and again, we stress that they're being proactive with their academics. So what that means is if they're struggling, they're getting the help that, they're seeking the help that they need. Whether that's through a tutor, whether that's through their teachers, whether that's through any of the resources maybe their school has. And, we actually proactively make our players do 2 hours a week with getting proactive help. That's been very beneficial for us. And, we've seen that GPA rise. I mean, this is only the second time in the program's history that we've been above that 3.2 team GPA mark. And so, we want to continue this trend. And when you have 50 plus guys on your team, it's tough to manage that. But if we can be proactive as players and as coaches, the academic stuff will come.
Well, congratulations to you and your players.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So as a department, we're working hard to try to build a lacrosse program from scratch.
Sure.
A lot of it has to do with Chris's help. He's bringing lacrosse to Louisa, so I'm excited about that. But what are some of the ingredients you think we should have, or what should we be focusing on to build this program? To not just build a program that's here today, but it's one that's next year and the year after and continues to grow.
Sure. I love that you're starting lacrosse in Louisa County. I love just growing the sport. I think that's the first thing I want to say. And I think, starting it with the youth is so important. If you can start it with the youth, it will make sure that it continues to grow into the middle schools and the high schools in Louisa County. I think an important thing is, making sure that, we have parents who are willing to volunteer and help out, whether that's, helping run a practice or help coach or help be a team mom. I think that's really important. And then having, a Parks and Rec department that's willing to also help out, right, with field space and with areas where the kids can come and play lacrosse and feel like, they belong somewhere.
Awesome. So I'm a graduate of University of Richmond, and I was telling Chris, our men's lacrosse team did fairly well. I think they went down to Duke, but it was in the NCAA championship series anyway. So it's neat I grew up and you had like the three major sports. It was football, basketball, and baseball.
Yep.
And now to be able to offer a program that may not have been offered until years from now but since we have someone who's familiar with it, and it just talks a little bit about the growth of the program itself, but also the opportunity that we have to introduce this program to this community as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting. And with your experience, is it going to be difficult? Do you think we can get it out there? You think we can build a program from scratch?
Absolutely. I think, lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. I think it meshes in so many other sports that, kids are used to playing, right? It meshes a little bit of soccer. It meshes a little bit of basketball, right? It has the hand-eye coordination of ice hockey. And it kind of like throws all these sports into one, which is really cool. And I think once kids start playing it, they'll begin to enjoy the sport and fall in love with the sport. And I think that's what's important. Lacrosse has given so much to me, and I wish that I could do, I want to do more to see the program, the sport grow. Right. So I think it's absolutely possible. A lot of people have done it in other places, so why not Louisa County?
That's right.
I'm gonna have a little feeder program for UMW.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. And University of Richmond.
And Richmond. All right. So whether you're coaching a college player or a 10-year-old picking up a stick for the first time, how do you help a kid get over that fear of making a mistake or not making the right play on the field?
Yeah, I think you have to, in the words of Ted Lasso, be a goldfish, right? You just kind of have to, you're going to make mistakes, right? With anything, right? Whether it's, playing football, not being able to catch a ball, or, not being able to make a hoop. Like, you're always going to have those difficulties. You're always going to have, the time that you fail. We just have to teach our kids to just get back on the horse, right? Keep working hard, make the next play, right? That's a big thing that we say, even at the collegiate level, is just make the next play. Anything fun and anything worth, achieving is not going to be easy. And some kids might get frustrated at first with, not being able to catch or throw with a lacrosse stick. But if you continue to, keep doing it, it's going to eventually, happen. And once that does, I think you're going to get them hooked for life, which is great.
Yeah. And James and I have had conversations about athletes taking those lessons on to life.
Yes.
Right. So can you think of anything specific to lacrosse where there's life lessons in the game of lacrosse?
Oh, 100%. I mean, working as a team, right? You're going to have to work with others in life, right? Whether it's at your workplace or, wherever, that's a big thing, right? Being able to take directions, right? Whether it's from, your boss at work, now you're taking it from your coach, playing lacrosse. And again, working hard, right? In life, you're not going to be able to achieve everything you want without failure. Same thing in lacrosse, you might not be able to catch and throw right away, but if you keep working at it, good things are going to happen. And I think that's just a good overall life lesson.
That's good.
Yeah, I heard someone talking about life in sports, and they say there's two times: it's either practice time and it's game time.
Yep.
And I think here you talking about the practice side of it. It prepares you for the games. And,
Sure.
And you're not going to start off when you start practicing a new sport. You're not going to start off great. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of effort, but it's going to take a commitment too. And when young athletes realize that, hey, if I put in the work or the commitment or make a commitment to be successful, it will come.
Absolutely.
You may not be the greatest lacrosse player, but you'll get to the point where you feel you can be successful out there.
Absolutely.
And I like to focus a lot on young athletes because people, I think some are learning or still learning how important hard work is and the effort that it takes to be successful. Because I don't want them thinking, you come out, pick up a stick, and you're going to be, great. But you have the opportunity to be great by picking up a stick, a new sport, and trying something that you probably haven't tried in a while. So I think it's really neat for youth players to if you had played lacrosse, come out. We have an event coming up here soon, and I'm sure you'll talk about that shortly. But come out and just give it a try and try it out. I pulled up when they were running the last event and just kind of parked and watch and just watching them move around and work the sticks around and score goals. I'm sitting in the parking lot smiling because you see the little kids out there. As soon as they make score a goal,
Absolutely.
they're smiling, they're happy, and it's just like it's an experience that they probably wouldn't have had, and that's if we didn't bring lacrosse here.
Absolutely.
So we're expecting big things out of you. just that you know,
Chris. Yeah.
we are trying to create a feeder program.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more kids that play, the bigger the pool gets for us college coaches. So
yeah. So you talk about college coaches. I know one big aspect of your job is recruiting players. What do you look for? What should young potential players who want to play lacrosse do on the field or off the field? What are you looking for?
Sure. A big thing, when we go to recruiting events, I think it's really important. The first thing we see is, their athletic ability, right? I think that's the first thing that shines. But I don't think that's the most important thing. I think, I can look at any kid and say, hey, they're a good lacrosse player, right? They're athletic, they're versatile, right? They have good, speed or agility. That's the easy stuff to recognize as a coach. What we really focus on though, is, their academics. Right, we got to make sure that they're going to be able to get into our school and be successful academically, and stay eligible while they're in school for 4 years. The second thing we look for is the type of person they are. Right, are they going to come into our program and build on the culture that we're trying to make? I think that's really that's almost secondary with the importance of what we're looking for, because we don't want somebody to come in and kind of ruin what we have building here, or not be a good team player or not be a good teammate, or just be disrespectful in the community. That we don't want somebody like that, even if they are a tremendous lacrosse player. So those two things are just as important as their talent on the field. But when we look at guys, we want guys that are athletic, are versatile, are always, maybe not always doing the right thing, but they're hustling, right? They're, maybe make a mistake, but they're going to hustle 100% to make up for that mistake. All those things are super important when we're recruiting, at least at our level.
Yeah. So if there are maybe 3 things that kids can do or youth can do to get on your radar, what are they?
Are you talking about on the athletically, or more of
just open it up?
Open it up.
Yes.
I think one thing is their athleticism, right? Are maybe they're not fast, but are they strong? Right? What is setting them apart from others? Right? Speed, I think, is always important, right? Strength is always important, and we say footwork, right? Like their agility to move around, and do they have good footwork? Those three things are probably the most on the field things that we look at.
How about off the field?
Off the field, are they respectful, right? Are they saying yes, ma'am, no, sir? Are they good human beings? I think 2, grades. I know I've said this multiple times, but grades are super important. And then, 3, are they willing to work hard, right? Whether it's on the lacrosse field or in the weight room or in the classroom, are they willing to put in the work and effort? We might have a guy that's less talented, but I know that he's driven and he wants to be the best. And, I'll take that kid over a kid that maybe, isn't going to work hard and is kind of capped, at what his abilities are.
So for the parents that are signing their kids up for the first time for lacrosse, never held a stick in their life, parents have no idea what lacrosse is all about. Can you give a little bit of idea to the parents of what it's like to live that lacrosse life, going to games, going to tournaments every weekend in the summer, maybe in the fall? What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, the lacrosse is a community. And, you're going to, be a part of a family where you're going to be able to come out, right? Bring the tent, bring the chairs, bring the coolers, right? And not only enjoy what you're watching. I think lacrosse is probably one of the most exciting sports to watch. I mean, it's fast paced. There's hits, there's goals. You know, you get to legally hit somebody with a stick,
Right.
and you know it's exciting, and it's enjoyable to watch. But you're also going to be part of the lacrosse community, right? And you're going to be part of other families, and getting to hang out with them, and staying in hotels, right, and going to different events together, and it really builds a family. And I think that's what I love most about lacrosse is that you're going to be part of this family and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to be able to watch something that's super exciting on the field. And I would highly recommend, if you're free, come out and be a part of it. It's the fastest game on 2 feet.
Awesome. I'm ready to sign my kids up, but my kids are in college, so it's too late.
So my youngest went the football route, so he played football at Virginia Tech. But looking at lacrosse and the physical nature of lacrosse, I can see how football and lacrosse kind of
Absolutely
work together.
Yep.
And you can imagine a lot of people that may think football is the option or where they want to focus on, and they get out there and play lacrosse and realize, hey, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
So I think having a new program and being able to share something like this with the community, we are grateful. Because hopefully we can say down the road, a couple of years from now, we helped get lacrosse into our school system.
Yep.
And just think about the kids we'll be able to serve, and by making that happen, and then we can start them young and then kind of
Absolutely
watch them grow till they get to that point where they are, playing for the Lions. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and on a personal note, you just described what I did. I coached 5, 6, 7-year-old football teams, and I handed those kids sticks. And I said, "You're playing lacrosse." They wanted nothing to do with it. I bought the sticks, I gave it to their parents, and I got to watch those kids graduate high school playing lacrosse and then go on to play college lacrosse. So, yeah, I'm hoping to do that here.
It's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. Then we have to go back and dig up this podcast. And
Yeah.
when was that?
Absolutely.
Right.
Hope it's not
Right.
that many years from
Yeah.
now. But
Yeah.
It's going to happen. We're going to work hard. To
My
try to
daughters
get
need some lacrosse teams to play for.
Awesome. Well, again, I know we start off by welcoming you to the community podcast, but welcome to the community.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Louisa County, and we're excited to have you here and look forward to what you bring to the Department of Parks and Recreation in terms of support and wisdom, when it comes to lacrosse as well. So thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Glad to be here.
Awesome.